this movie pissed me off. It had so much potential. It's not even like it was a bad movie. It was one scene, one little plot twist that just ruined the entire movie for me. So let me take you on a journey of a great movie that was ruined by one scene. This is the scene right here. Of course, I'm not going to show it yet because I don't want to ruin it, but you're going to know what I mean once we get to it. Now let's get to it. This movie is called Trap House, and the movie starts off with two friends driving down a road in the middle of nowhere, what it looks like. We got Batista and this other famous guy. I don't really know his name, but I'll put it on the screen. The two friends are having a conversation. Batista brings up how his son is a little rebellious right now, and he's out of control. And then the movie cuts to the son doing donuts in the school parking lot. We are introduced to the son, and then we see he has a group of friends. That's wonderful. And then the friends have a little conversation. They joke around a little bit. And then we find out that the reason why all of these friends are close is because every single one of the friends have a parent in law enforcement. That's a good way to bond. It's a stressful bond, but it's a bond. And then the movie cuts back to Batista and his friends stopping at a gas station. Everything seems normal, regular family with regular problems. But as Batista is walking up to the gas station, he's immediately met by this worker, I guess, telling him there's no gas there. And Batista was like, well, I gotta use the restroom. The man flashes a gun. And then it gets a little interesting because Batista's friend shoots the man with a tranquilizer gun. Oh, so the friends are not just going on a road trip. They're on a mission. Batista drags the man to the RV, and then once he gets to the RV, he knocks on the door, and lo and behold, a whole bunch of DEA agents ready to get to work. So apparently this isn't a regular gas station. They go in there, guns blazing, very tactical. They take out a couple of bad guys, and then they make it to an underground tunnel. And I'm sure they push the drugs through this tunnel, but, I'm just assuming, maybe I'm wrong. They walk down the tunnel, and then apparently they get seen or something. It's a little shootout in the tunnel, and then they look up and see the tunnel is wired with explosives. So they got to get out of there. Oh, this is getting good. I like this so far. This is a good intro. Then, of course, they're running out of there, trying to make it out the gas station, and they make it, okay? They barely make it. Congratulations. And then one of the officers gets in the neck. And this fantastic movie, so creative, as the officers trying to survive, they go to the officer's son, getting called to the office, hearing the bad news. As the dad is trying to survive. That is great. That's great writing, and that's a fantastic director. That's wonderful. And the reason why it's wonderful is army movies, cop movies, they never show the other side. How worried and stressed the kids and the spouses, the grandmas are worried about these action heroes. What if they don't make it home? Okay, I'm done. Batista's son ends up meeting up with all of his friends from school, and they comfort the son that just lost his father. They're great friends. Not too many friends do that. Unfortunately, the son ends up coming home late after being around his friends trying to comfort the son. Once again, kind of being rebellious. Batista's pissed. Since he's a DEA agent, he'd be worried about his son, Maybe one day his son might be kidnapped and blown up his son's phone. Anything could have happened, which makes sense. But his son feels like he's 18 now and he's too old to have a curfew, and his dad needs to loosen up, which makes sense. They argue for a second, then Batista ends up telling him the bad news. He can't hang out with his friends for a while due to the situation, which also makes sense. Then they cut to the funeral, and we find out that not only do all of the kids have parents in law enforcement, all of the parents work side by side. Yes. At the beginning of the movie, when we seen all the group of DEA agents or officers or whatever they are, that's all of the kids' parents. That's also cool. I like how they did that. That's creative. I'm excited. I love how realistic and creative the storytelling is. Now I'm on the edge of my seat. This is fantastic. I made a good choice. All these movies I could have picked, and I picked a great movie. In the next scene, we meet the bad guys. And it's a typical introduction to a bad guy. He's having a speech with his group of henchmen, and they talk about that there's a rat in the pack. There's somebody in there snitching to the DEA. And to scare his fellow henchmen, he has one of his closest henchmen somebody in the head just to scare out the rats. There's rats among them, and he wants to find out, and he wants to scare all the rats. Almost immediately, we find out that the most trustworthy goon that the dude in the head is the rat. First of all, that's messed up. You're a rat, and you ended up shooting somebody just so you won't get found out. That's crazy. But anyways, he meets up with Batista and Batista's friend / co-worker, And he pretty much tells them he's out. He don't want to be a rat anymore. He can't help them anymore. And Batista asked a couple more questions, if there's any more tunnels that they need to look out for. The rat doesn't know anything else. The boss is probably not telling everybody stuff anymore because he wants to know who's snitching. So that makes sense. He don't know any more information. But Batista's like, all right, cool. In a couple of days, I'll put you on witness protection. All right, we good. Another sad scene approaches us because now we found out the son that just lost his father, he has to move away because they can't afford the house anymore. He says the DEA death benefits are terrible, so he has to move out of town. The parents lost a co-worker and a friend, and now the son is losing a close friend. And you could tell that the situation is bothering Batista's son because in a car ride, the son and father end up having a brief conversation about what happens if Batista passes away one day. And the son is like, okay, why ain't the DEA helping the family out? Well, it ain't much they can do. That's what Batista says. And then Batista tells the son that they're setting up a GoFundMe. So the son asked a great question. He's like, okay, Dad, when you pass away, that's all I get is a GoFundMe? It's a great question. And I don't know if this is true or not. Never did any research on how much they get paid. But if that is true, they're doing a dangerous job for what? Seems like the family get the worst part of it. They're losing a loved one and the financial stability goes downhill. Okay, and I'm done with the rant. But we're interrupted by a phone call that Batista's friend gives them a call and says that they found a trap house. And of course, Batista turns to his son and is like, you want to go? And the son is like, of course I want to go. So the son and dad end up taking a little fun day and end up in a trap house. They go there, they walk into the trap house. The son stops and looks at something. He just looks like for a long period of time, just stares at something. And we find out that he's staring at none other than a stack of money. Okay. What is he thinking? What is this rebellious son thinking? They end up going back to the office, talk about the intel, and the son's sitting outside of the office, so he don't know what's going on. The son proceeds to take pictures of the investigation board, the board where they have the pictures of all the bad guys and in their frequent locations. Yeah, whatever that thing is, the son is taking pictures of it. I'm not disregarding it, but I'm also not thinking too deep about it because I'm like, this movie is so realistic. So they're not going to take a sharp turn and do some crazy stuff. They wouldn't do that. Would they? Well, I was wrong because the next scene is the reason why I turned the movie completely off. Yes. Are you ready to see the scene that makes absolutely no sense? This is supposed to be a realistic movie, but let's look at the scene.
By the crazy coming out of your mouth. You want us to jack a drug cartel?
No, I want to jack a trap house owned by...
Yes, the son gathers up all his friends and talk about robbing a trap house. And I kept watching the whole weird scene because I'm thinking, oh, the friends are going to be like, okay, that's stupid. Yeah, this is dumb. Let's not worry about it. No, he convinces them to join. And it's so awkward. And I don't like using the word, but it's cringy because it's like the movie... For the first 20 minutes of the movie, because it's 20 minutes in already, they spent this whole time making these kids look innocent. These are innocent kids. These are just regular high schoolers. The son is a little rebellious, but not to that point where he'll risk his whole life to make some money. And the son pretty much tells all the friends, well, we're doing this to help out the son that lost his father in the incident. They'll be able to buy them a house with the stash money. It doesn't make any sense, okay? I can't watch it anymore. It was weird. If you ended up watching the entire movie, put it in the comments. And if you ever been tricked and duped by a fantastic movie with so much potential and ruined by a single scene, put it in the comments. I'll eventually go back and watch it. Eventually. Yeah, this movie upsetted me, but if you want to hear about a fantastic movie, click right here. Yes, I talk about it. It is a masterpiece. It is an old movie, but it's a masterpiece. Click that. Click right here.